What happens when the man who built a taxi empire from scratch realizes he doesn't even recognize the sound of the engine anymore? Kellan Price sat alone in his office on the 12th floor, staring at a spreadsheet that listed fuel costs, maintenance delays, and driver turnover across all 14 of his taxi franchise locations. The numbers didn't make sense. One location in particular, a downtown hub covering most of the city's night shifts, had the worst performance metrics of all. High driver turnover, low customer ratings, and strange gaps in daily logs. He rubbed his temples. 14 shops, and I built every single one of them, he muttered. How did I let it get this far? Kellan had started the company 15 years ago with one rusted Crown Vic and a maxed-out credit card. He used to drive 12-hour shifts himself, sleeping in the backseat between fares. But over the years, as the business expanded, he hired district managers, operations leads, and local shop managers to run the day-to-day. Now, he hardly knew any of the drivers personally. Most of the newer ones had only ever seen corporate emails with his signature. And in a company with over 300 employees, across 14 hubs, the odds of being recognized were slim, especially when he shaved off his beard, dyed his hair a little darker, and threw on a faded hoodie and a fake name tag. Kyle Trainee. He decided to start with the location that had been pulling the worst numbers for months, the downtown depot on Jefferson and 5th. The report said it was understaffed, mostly covering late-night routes, and had a manager named Travis who'd been running it for 2 years. According to the district manager, Travis was strict but efficient. Kellan wasn't convinced. He didn't tell anyone he was coming. He just showed up on a Thursday at 4:45 p.m., 30 minutes before night shift started, wearing a second-hand jacket and holding a fake application in his hand. "Hey," he said to the woman behind the bulletproof glass at the front desk. "I'm Kyle. I'm supposed to start training today." The woman, a short, tired-looking girl with glasses and a cracked phone in her hand, barely glanced up. "Travis'll be out in a sec," she said, pointing toward a door behind her. Travis came out 2 minutes later. Thin, mid-40s, with a Bluetooth earpiece in and coffee stains on his shirt. He didn't shake hands. "You're the new guy?" Travis asked. "Yes, Kyle." "We'll see how long you last," Travis muttered. "Half these clowns quit after the first week." Kellan followed him through the garage bay, where a few aging sedans were being wiped down half-heartedly by 2 teenage boys. One of the cars had a dented door and a missing hubcap. No one seemed to care. Travis called out, "Yo, Keon, you got room for a trainee tonight." A tall man in his late 30s looked up from his seat in a cab, clearly tired. He had dark skin, a thick beard, and kind eyes. "Sure, guess I could use some company." "Great," Travis said. "Kyle, ride with Keon tonight. Learn from him, don't screw up." And with that, Travis vanished back into the office. Keon looked over. "You ever done this before?" "Not officially," Kellan replied, "but I've been around cabs my whole life." Keon chuckled. "Well, buckle up, it's going to be a long shift." By 6:00 p.m., they were cruising through downtown. Keon drove with calm focus, weaving through traffic like he was in a rhythm. He greeted every passenger politely, asked if they wanted music or silence, and knew exactly where to go without needing GPS. After dropping off a young couple at a hotel, Kellan asked, "How long you been working here?" 6 years, Keon replied. "Wow, that's a long time." "Yeah, well, I used to love this job." Kellan tilted his head. "Used to." Keon hesitated. "You really want to know?" "Sure." They stopped at a red light. Keon's hands tightened on the wheel. "I got a daughter, Elle. She's 9, smart as hell, wants to be a vet, but can't even afford her dentist bills right now, man. You know why? 'Cause Travis cuts our hours whenever he wants. Doesn't tell us why. Says we're lucky to have jobs. Hell, last week, I worked 4 straight nights and they still shorted me 2 hours on my check. Kellan blinked. Did you tell anyone? I tried telling Travis. He said I must have misread the log, said I probably took too long on breaks. Kellan scoffed. Breaks? You think I got time to take breaks when I'm trying to make rent? Kellan didn't speak. Kellan sighed. That ain't even the worst of it. Last Tuesday, my cab broke down mid-shift. Called Travis for help. He told me to call a tow myself and clock out. Said it wasn't his problem. That car's company property, man. I'm just driven it. Kellan's jaw clenched. Kellan glanced sideways at him. Sorry, man. Didn't mean to dump on you. You just seemed different. Most trainees don't care. Kellan forced a small smile. No, I'm glad you told me. But inside, something twisted. That cab, that depot, that manager. They all bore his name, his company's name. And yet here was a man, a good man, doing everything right and still getting crushed by the system Kellan had built. He didn't say another word for the next 10 minutes. He just listened. And froze. A few hours into the shift, Jefferson Avenue turned quiet. The evening rush had thinned out, and they were gliding along the edge of the city's old warehouse district, passing shuttered storefronts and half-lit intersections. Kellan tapped the steering wheel with his thumb, a rhythm that didn't match the music playing low through the speakers. Kellan sat in the passenger seat, watching the streetlights pass overhead in broken cadence. Dispatch is slow tonight, Kellan muttered. They'll probably start stacking pickups soon. They always hold 'em till it's too late, then dump 5 rides on you all at once. Kellan looked over. Can't they stagger it better? They could, Kellan said sharply. But the night dispatcher's nephew just got promoted to the day shift, so now we're stuck with Lenny. He's been here 2 months and already lost 3 drivers by sending them to wrong addresses. Last week, he gave me a fare that turned out to be a shut-down strip club. Place hasn't been open since the pandemic. Kellan tried to keep his voice even, so no quality checks. Kellan barked a short laugh. Quality checks? Man, you're green. You think anyone upstairs cares about what happens past 5 p.m.? We're ghosts after dark. Unless we crash or someone calls in a complaint, they don't see us at all. A scratchy voice came through the radio, distorted by static. Kellan grabbed the mic. Kellan, you copy? Got a pickup for you on East Fort. Name's Guillermo. Says he's outside the gas station. Copy that. On my way, Kellan replied, then tossed the mic back onto the console. As they pulled onto East Fort, Kellan scanned the shadows. A man in a denim jacket stood just outside the fluorescent glow of the gas station's overhang, holding a small duffel bag. Kellan rolled down the window slightly. You Guillermo. The man nodded and slid into the back seat. His accent was soft, probably Central American, and he kept his eyes low as he gave the destination a long-term stay motel on the industrial edge of town. The ride was quiet. Guillermo stared out the window, clutching the duffel like it held something fragile. Kellan didn't ask questions. Neither did Kellan. When they pulled into the cracked parking lot of the motel, Guillermo handed over a 10 and a 5, then paused. You don't got change. Kellan glanced back. I think I got a couple ones. Guillermo nodded. Keep it, thanks. After he left, Kellan shook his head. That guy's been riding with us all week, always the same place. Never more than $15. Probably working some warehouse night shift. You meet all kinds out here. Kellan turned the thought over in his mind, but said nothing. The radio squawked again. Another pickup. This time, 2 bars over from where they were. Kellan rolled his shoulders before pulling out. You ever get help with repairs? Kellan asked, watching how the dashboard lights flickered every time they hit a bump. Help? Kellan asked. We fill out forms on the clipboard in the garage. That's it. Half the time, Travis just tells us to mark it fixed and keep driving. What if it's serious? Then we hold our breath and pray it doesn't fail while we've got someone in the back. The next fare was a group of 3, all buzzed and laughing. 2 women and a guy, all in their 20s. They piled in, loud and unfiltered, shouting over each other about who owed who drinks. Kellan smiled politely and drove. Kellan stayed quiet, absorbing the energy, the wear on Kellan's face. The way he winced whenever one of the passengers slammed the door or leaned too hard on the seat. After they dropped them off, the cab felt heavier somehow. "You ever think of quitting?" Kellan asked. Kellan gave a dry chuckle. "Every week, but I got a kid. I got bills, and I spent the last 5 years building seniority here, thinking maybe one day I'd move into dispatch or even get a shot at the training lead. But they gave that to Rick. You met Rick." Kellan shook his head. "Exactly," Kellan said. "He's Travis's cousin, been here less than a year, doesn't even know how to change a flat." Kellan didn't respond. His throat was tight. They rolled into the depot just after 2 in the morning. The garage lights were dim, one of them flickering overhead like it hadn't been replaced in months. A few other cabs were already parked. One of the teens from earlier was asleep with his feet up on a milk crate, a rag still in his hand. Kellan pulled into his usual spot and killed the engine. Kellan climbed out, stretching his legs. "You want a ride home?" Kellan offered, "or you close by?" "I'll walk," Kellan said, "clear my head." Kellan nodded, then pulled something from his glove box. A tattered paperback with folded corners. "My kid's reading this for school," he said, handing it to Kellan. "I'm trying to keep up so we can talk about it. You ever read it?" Kellan looked at the cover, of mice and men. "Yeah," he said, "a long time ago." Kellan gave a tired smile. "Feels like a different world, doesn't it?" Kellan watched him disappear into the building, the paperback still warm in his hands. He walked the 7 blocks to his hotel in silence. The next night, he came back. This time, he was paired with a driver named Yui. She was in her early 30s, wore a ponytail and a Bluetooth earpiece, and had a photo of her parents taped to the visor. She drove fast, but cleanly, adjusting the seat every time between rides, even though she was the only one who used the car. Kellan noticed her checking the rearview mirror more often than needed. "You okay?" he asked after their 3rd pickup. Yui hesitated. "Yeah, it's just a lot of creeps at night. You learn to keep your eyes moving." They pulled into a quiet suburb for their next fare. A man in his 50s got in, clearly drunk but polite. As they pulled away, Yui kept her hands tight on the wheel. "He's fine," she muttered under her breath. "He's fine, just get him there." Kellan didn't ask. After the fare, she parked in a church parking lot and shut off the engine for a moment. "You sure you're okay?" he asked again. She looked at him. Her expression was neutral, but her voice cracked slightly. "Last Thursday, I had a guy pull a knife, just waved it around, said he wasn't gonna pay. Hit the panic button, but no one came, not for 20 minutes, and Travis, he told me to fill out an incident report and be more careful. That was it. No follow-up. No extra protection. Nothing." Kellan's jaw tightened. "Why stay?" he asked. She looked away. "Send money to my parents, back home. I don't have a choice." They didn't speak for the rest of the shift. At the end of the night, Travis was in the office, feet on the desk, watching something on his phone. Yui handed over the keys. "Cab 27 needs a new headlight, flickers every time a brake." Travis nodded without looking up, write it on the clipboard. As she walked away, Kellan approached the desk. "Hey, Travis." Travis looked up annoyed. "What?" "I had a question about the panic button in the cabs. Do they alert someone directly?" Travis squinted. "Why you asking?" "Just curious, seems important." Travis leaned back. Look, new guy, you drive, you shut up, you don't make waves, you want to last here, that's the deal. You don't like it. Doors that way. Kellan stared at him for a long beat. Then walked past him, out into the garage. He didn't say a word. But he knew what he had to do. By the third night, Kellan had already memorized the smell of the depot's garage burnt oil, old coffee, and something sour that lingered near the drains. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed faintly, casting a dull, sickly glow across the concrete floor. He arrived early, earlier than usual, and watched from the far end of the lot as the night drivers began trickling in. No one spoke much. Just nods, clipped greetings, and the sound of keys being tossed from one hand to another. He wasn't assigned to a driver this time. Travis had waved him off with a shrug, saying they didn't have enough cabs in working shape for everyone to double up. So just hang around, Travis had said, already tapping away at his phone. If someone calls out, maybe you'll get lucky. Kellan didn't protest. He just stepped outside, leaned against the back wall, and waited. The air was cold. Damp. He could hear the distant hum of traffic on the overpass and the occasional cough of an engine trying to turn over. Inside the garage, one of the teen mechanics was struggling to replace a bulb on a side mirror. The kid, thin, no older than 17, kept glancing toward the office window, then back to the socket like he was hoping someone would come help him. No one did. Need a hand? Kellan asked, pulling his hoodie tighter. The kid looked startled. You know how to fix this? I've done it before, Kellan said. Mind if I try? The kid stepped aside, grateful. Kellan crouched next to the car and worked the old bulb out with a flathead he borrowed from the nearby tray. It wasn't hard, just tedious. He could tell the socket hadn't been cleaned in months. You work nights too? The kid asked. Training, Kellan said. Guess I'm still figuring it out. The kid nodded. I'm just part-time, after school, supposed to be learning basics, but mostly just clean up and do lights. Travis says the engine work's not worth the risk. Risk? Yeah, the kid said. If I mess something up, he says it's on me, even if I'm following instructions. So I don't touch anything heavier than a wrench. Kellan finished the install and tightened the casing. What's your name? Louis. Thanks for letting me help, Louis. The kid smiled faintly. You're not like the others. Kellan stood. How do you mean? Louis shrugged. Most new guys don't talk to me unless they need something. Kellan didn't respond. He didn't have the words. Later that night, a driver named Noreen limped into the garage with a flat. She was in her 50s, short, with streaks of gray in her hair and a deep crease between her eyebrows. Her voice was low and hoarse when she asked if someone could help with a spare. Travis didn't even look up. Check the back lot, he muttered. If there's a tire, use it. If not, tough luck. Kellan followed her out anyway. Do you usually change these yourself? He asked as she opened the trunk. Only when can't find Louis, she said, or when Travis forgets we're not built like forklifts. They found a usable spare, eventually bald, but inflated. The two of them wrestled it onto the rim in silence, except for the occasional grunt or scrape. Noreen didn't complain. She just worked, jaw clenched, hands shaking from cold or fatigue, Kellan couldn't tell which. When they were finished, she sat on the curb and lit a cigarette with trembling fingers. Been driving since the merger, she said quietly. Used to be a different company before this one bought us out. Back then, we had a dispatcher who knew our names, had a number we could call if we needed backup. Now, you get a flat, you pray it's not on a bridge. What keeps you here? She exhaled. Pension. I'm 5 years away. If I leave now, I lose everything I've earned. Kellan sat next to her. The asphalt was still warm from the day. You ever met the guy who owns all this? She asked, flicking ash into a soda can. Kellan blinked. No, not yet. Figures, she said. He's probably on an island somewhere, doesn't care what happens down here. He didn't answer, couldn't. By midnight, a call came in about a fare stranded near the convention center. None of the usual drivers were nearby. Travis barked the order through dispatch, but everyone else was either already on pickups or dealing with vehicle issues. Kellan stepped into the office. "I can take it," he said. Travis looked up. "You even know the routes?" "I'll use the map," Kellan said. "I've been riding along for 3 nights. I've got a handle on it." Travis didn't argue, just tossed him a set of keys. "Take Unit 17, don't wreck it." The cab was old. The upholstery was torn along the passenger door, and the dashboard lights flickered like distant lightning. But it started on the first try, and the brakes responded evenly. Kellan pulled out of the lot and made his way across town. The fare was a woman in a blazer holding a folded laptop case and pacing near a closed coffee shop. She looked relieved when he pulled up. "Thank God, third cab have called," she said. "The others didn't even show." He apologized and opened the door for her. On the drive, she vented about her conference running late, her phone dying, and how she'd almost walked the whole way back to her hotel. He listened, nodded when needed, and dropped her off without incident. When she stepped out, she paused. "You're new," she said. "I am." She gestured toward the cab. "Don't take this the wrong way, but this company used to run a tight ship. Lately, not so much." "I've heard that," Kellan said. "You seem like you care. That's rare these days." She left him a tip and disappeared into the hotel. He didn't return to the depot right away. Instead, he parked in a strip mall lot and let the engine idle while he stared through the windshield. He thought about Kian's eyes when he talked about his daughter, about Yui's hands gripping the wheel, about Louis waiting for permission to learn, about Noreen chasing a pension like a moving target. He thought about the depot, how it had become a place people tolerated, not trusted. When he finally returned, Travis was in the break room, feet on the table, chewing on sunflower seeds. Kellan walked in and closed the door behind him. "You got something to say?" Travis asked. "Yeah," Kellan said. "I do." He reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out his company ID, not the fake one, the real one. The one with his name printed below the company's official seal. Travis squinted, then blinked, then sat upright. "What the hell is this?" "I'm Kellan Price," he said. "Founder, CEO. I've been here for 3 nights. You didn't recognize me because you didn't care to look." Travis opened his mouth, then shut it again. "You've got drivers afraid to speak up. A mechanic doing 3 people's jobs without guidance. Vehicles that should have been retired a year ago still on the streets. And you're watching videos and calling it management." Travis's face flushed. "Look, I didn't." "Save it." Kellan stepped closer. "I built this place from a single cab. I used to drive night routes just like them. I know what this job does to people if they don't feel supported. And I didn't come here to play gotcha. I came here because I stopped recognizing the company created." Travis looked around, like hoping someone else would step in. "No one's coming," Kellan said. "You're done here." "You can't just." "I can, and I am." He stepped back. "There'll be an official notice in the morning. Until then, pack your things, and don't talk to anyone on your way out." Travis stood slowly. For a moment, it looked like he might argue, but he didn't. He just grabbed his coat, muttered something under his breath, and left. Kellan stayed in the break room, alone, listening to the silence settle in. Then he opened his phone and dialed a number that hadn't been used in over a year, the number for his old operations lead. Someone he trusted before layers of middle management blurred the lines. "Janine," he said when she picked up. "We've got work to do, starting tonight." By 6:30 the following morning, Kellan was back at the Jefferson Depot, not in disguise this time. He wore his usual dark slacks, a gray jacket, and a company ID clipped plainly to his chest. The front desk receptionist, just arriving and nursing a thermos, nearly dropped her bag when she saw him. She fumbled for words, but he raised a hand gently. "I'm not here to make a scene," he said, "but things are going to change, starting today." She nodded, wide-eyed, and unlocked the inner door. Inside, the floor still smelled faintly of diesel and cold air that had been trapped overnight. The garage lights buzzed overhead. Louis, the teen mechanic, stood beside a cab hood already popped open, wiping his hands on a rag. He froze when he saw Kellan walk in without the hoodie. "You're the guy from the other night," Louis said slowly. "I am," Kellan replied, "but I wasn't honest about who I was." Louis blinked, piecing it together. "You're the owner." "I am." Louis looked down at the wrench in his hands, then back up. "Am I in trouble for anything?" "Not even close." Before he could say more, a black sedan pulled into the garage bay. Janine stepped out, hair pulled back, clipboard in hand, flanked by two regional supervisors Kellan had handpicked months ago but hadn't deployed to field work in over a year. Kellan turned to Louis. "Stick close to them today. Janine's going to do a full audit of operations here: repairs, maintenance logs, safety procedures. Anything you know, share it. You're the one holding this place together more than anyone else." Louis looked stunned. "You want me to help run the audit?" "I want you to show them how the place actually works." Janine gave him a nod, already flipping through documents. She leaned in quietly. "We'll start with the fleet. From what I saw in the lot, half these cabs wouldn't pass inspection in a city with stricter codes." "Let's bring them up to standard," Kellan said. "No band-aids, full repair or decommission." He left Janine to work and stepped toward the scheduling office, where a red-eyed dispatcher was logging into the terminal. He looked up, confused, then quickly stood. "I'm Lenny. I usually just run nights, but—" "I know who you are," Kellan said. "Sit, please." Lenny hesitated, then sat. Kellan rested a hand on the back of the chair across from him. "How long have you been dispatching alone?" "Since Rick moved to day shift. Travis said I'd figure it out." "Did anyone train you properly?" "Not really. I shadowed Rick for one night. After that, I just kind of guessed." Kellan nodded slowly. "You're not being fired, but we're bringing in 2 senior dispatchers from our Midtown office. You'll shadow them for the next 30 days. After that, we'll reevaluate." Lenny looked relieved, but also quietly embarrassed. Kellan didn't linger. He had one more stop before the night drivers clocked out. In the break room, Kian sat alone at one of the folding tables, eating from a plastic container of rice and beans. He looked up when the door opened, his expression unreadable. "You're not Kyle," he said plainly. "No," Kellan said, "I'm not." Kian put down his fork. "I figured something was off. Too many questions, too much listening." "I owed you honesty. I owe you more than that, actually." Kian leaned back slightly. "So what now?" Kellan pulled out the chair across from him and sat down. "You're one of the most experienced drivers we have. You know the streets, the shifts, the people. I want you to help design the new night shift training program. Paid hours. You'll be a lead trainer starting next week." Kian didn't react right away. "My pay stays the same?" he asked. "No," Kellan said. "It goes up, and your schedule becomes fixed. No more last-minute cuts." Kian finally exhaled, the tension in his shoulders dropping slightly. "Why now?" he asked. "Why not 3 years ago?" "Because I stopped paying attention," Kellan said. "Trusted the wrong people to do the right things." Kian gave a slow nod. "All right, then let's do it right this time." By late morning, the depot was buzzing. For the first time in months, every department was being looked at directly scheduling, payroll, dispatch, vehicle maintenance. Janine's team had already pulled 6 cabs out of rotation for overdue repairs. 2 drivers refused to go back on shift until their brakes were checked. Kellan backed them up personally. In the office where Travis used to sit, Kellan stood with Janine, reviewing the manager roster. "Who do you want to replace him?" she asked. "I don't want another Travis," Kellan said. "I want someone who understands what that seat is supposed to be." "I've got a name," Janine said. "Noreen." He turned to her, "The driver." "She knows policy. She's organized. She's respected by the team. She doesn't want the job, but I think that's why she should have it." "I'll talk to her," Kellan said. He found Noreen in the back lot, loading her cab with floor mats she'd personally cleaned. She didn't look surprised to see him. "I heard," she said, brushing her hands off on her jeans. "Travis is gone." "He is." She nodded once, then went back to adjusting the mats. "I'd like to offer you the depot manager role," Kellan said. She stopped. "I'm not a manager," she said. "I'm a driver who survived." "Exactly," Kellan said. "You know what this place needs because you've lived it. You'd have full authority to hire support, fix scheduling, and enforce safety procedures. We'll bring in a junior admin to help with the paperwork. You'd drive fewer hours, but you'd still stay eligible for your pension." She looked at him, skeptical. "I don't want to be the face of a sinking ship," she said. "You won't be," Kellan said. "We're rebuilding starting here. You'd be the first cornerstone." She stayed quiet for a moment, then gave a small, firm nod. "I'll try it, but I'm not babysitting." "Wouldn't ask you to." By the end of the day, the depot had shifted. Not completely, no miracle had swept through to fix every dented panel or frayed wire, but the tone had changed. Drivers lingered in the break room, talking openly. Mechanics asked questions instead of guessing. Dispatchers compared route logs without being told. It wasn't fixed, but it was honest. Before leaving, Kellan returned to the garage, where Lewis was still working with one of the senior techs Janine had brought in. "I heard you helped pull the records," Kellan said. Lewis nodded. Half the cabs had falsified checklists. We're scrubbing them clean. "You still thinking of becoming a mechanic?" Lewis hesitated. "I don't know. It's hard to figure that stuff out." "Let me help with that," Kellan said. "We're starting a paid apprenticeship program. You'd work under certified techs, learn the trade, and get hours logged toward certification. First slots open next month. One of them has your name on it." Lewis blinked. "Seriously?" "Seriously," Kellan said, "if you want it." "I do." Kellan clapped him on the shoulder, then turned toward the exit. Outside, the sun was setting again. The shift turnover was beginning. Cabs rolled in, drivers greeting each other with quiet nods that felt less weary than before. Kellan stood at the edge of the lot for a moment, watching the rhythm of the place. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. This wasn't a turnaround story with fireworks or press releases. It was a repair slow, deliberate, earned. And it was only just beginning.